Hey everybody, it's Kansas with Pack Mule. We're back here to talk about the 4Runner build we completed a few months ago over at Comal Truck Gear. It's been a great rig and we put 10,000 miles on it, so we're going to get into the details of each part and piece, how well it's performed for us. Let's get into this. Okay, we just want to recap the build, everything that we did to this 4Runner before we get into the details. Up front, we put the ARB Summit replacement bumper. It's all steel, it's powder coated, looks great. The rigid 6-inch floodlights, very bright. We've got the Warn VR Evo 10,000 pound with a synthetic line winch up front for recovery. All the fog lights and everything replaced on this bumper. We've wrapped the TRD wheels with a Toyo Open Country mud terrain. It's the same thing we've got on our big red Ram. We've enjoyed the tires for a long time. They've certainly performed well on this vehicle as well. Got them sized in a 285/70/17. Working the suspension, we've got Camberg upper control arms, and then we've got Fox Race 2.5 with the remote reservoir and the adjustable dampening piece on it. And then in the back, we've got their shocks. We've got a 3-inch lift and load spring that's in the back, and then their adjustable shocks in the back as well. Having this steel ARB Summit bumper on the front is really important. Gives me some extra confidence and protection when we're running through tight trails. It also does a great job of housing some of the technology that's built into the 4Runner. I'll get into some of the technology and my dislikes about it later, but it does have the managed cruise control. So it's the radar controlled cruise. It's supposed to keep you at 70 miles an hour even through traffic. I sort of like that and I sort of don't. It's great in traffic, of course, but when you're out on the highway and you've got it set at 75 and then you end up with a slow lane in front of you, sometimes you forget that you're now doing 62, and it'll really put a hamper on your time travel. The bumper also has the winch housed inside of it. I love the way that the license plate covers up the fair lead for it. That cable comes out. We've just got it hooked onto actually a jack point, and keeps everything clean, looks great, I think, and gives us some extra confidence headed down the highway. These rigid lights have been incredible. These are their flood model, 6-inch round. It gives you an incredible beam when it's dark outside. We also have some amber lenses that we put over the top of them, so when it's foggy outside, it really helps cut through that rain and all the mist and the fog that's out there, so you can see where you're going. These also have a backlight amber, so when you're just running at night, it has a real low amber glow just as a secondary switch. It's pretty cool. I wasn't sure what I'd think about it at first, but it actually gives it a great look. As I mentioned in the last video, something that's really important to me is tires. We really like to get out in the back and explore, and if you've got a good mud terrain tire, it's going to clean out and chunk and grab and keep you propelling forward. I believe that's one of the reasons we haven't had to use this Warn winch yet. Maybe we haven't gotten quite deep enough, but this vehicle handles the off-road terrain really well. It's super light and nimble, and we've been in some pretty crazy spots and it just kept muling its way through. But these tires clean out great, which gives you a lot of confidence, a lot of traction, so it's throwing and slinging and moving that vehicle forward. These are the Toyo Open Country mud terrains. They do a great job. They're a little noisy on the highway, as you might expect with a mud terrain, but they're probably less noisy than I would expect. In size, they're a 285/70/17. We were able to fit those in with the 3-inch lift that we put on the vehicle. They're a pretty heavy tire, and if you look at Toyo's tire chart, they show that they are a heavy tire. They have a greater rolling resistance. These are heavy. I think that they are accounting for some depreciation in our miles per gallon. In Texas, there's a lot of highways that are an 80-mile-an-hour speed limit, and so we're doing a lot of 80-mile-an-hour driving on the highway. I've never felt unsafe with the mud terrain on the highway, but have certainly noticed that our fuel economy is below 12 when we're doing 80. It's hard to ramp it back down to 70, but we can get an extra 1.5 miles a gallon if we get into the 70-mile-an-hour zone. The suspension's been great on this 4Runner. We've done 10,000 miles, and certainly a lot of it's been highway, but a lot of it's been off-road too, both in the Lincoln National Forest in New Mexico. We've been to the Grand Canyon. We've been all the way through Vegas, Joshua Tree, on a bunch of back roads. We took the little San Bernardino. There's a trail in Joshua Tree that goes over those mountains, the little San Bernardino Mountains, and a lot of potholes, big boulders, and the vehicle just floats through it. Same way in Lincoln National Forest, a bunch of roads back there. They were very muddy when we were there late August. And we were able to move fast and light, and everything cleaned out and moved well. The suspension floats. It's really incredible. I can't say enough about it. I love the adjustability that the Fox 2.5s give us. We can adjust the dampening and the rebound, which makes a huge difference depending on the type of terrain that you're in. But certainly in the back, when you're adjusting the load constantly, you can tell a huge improvement over tightening up that dampener when you've got a load on the back. It prevents additional roll that you would see normally by having a load in the back. We've never bottomed out, but really prevents that shock from getting into the lower reaches of its travel. And so the Camberg upper control arms have been a great complement to that, but certainly the Fox shocks have been an incredible performer, and I would recommend those to anybody. We've talked about the off-road performance of the vehicle. We haven't really talked about the off-road system that the off-road premium package on the TRD level comes with. Let's go take a look. With the TRD off-road package, you get a computerized system that does a couple things. One, you can make some settings depending on the type of terrain you're in. So if you're in sand or mud, you can set the computer to think about wheel slip. It actually provides some braking that increases the system's ability to put power to the tire that has traction. So in a lot of cases, a four-wheel drive vehicle, the tire that's loose will spin, and so you can't go anywhere. To remedy that, you either need a limited slip rear differential, or you need a locker, and potentially in the front as well, depending on what you're trying to do. This helps mitigate that need. Although the A-Track system really provides a limited slip type of an opportunity. That's this button up here on the top. So aside from sand and mud, we also have a snow setting that we've got. We've got light rocks and gravel, and then we've got off-road rock crawling type of a mode. The computer's really intelligent. We haven't pushed it as far as we could have, but I've been really impressed with it so far. The other interesting thing that it comes with is crawl control, and you can set the speed for it. It's really noisy and it'll throw you off at first. It uses the anti-lock braking system and pneumatically controls the brakes in different places to slow the vehicle down, to control the throttle and the acceleration. But it's pretty interesting. We were in Colorado outside of Boulder, and we were going up a really crazy road. A bunch of folks said we'd never make it up, and I just set the crawl control and let the vehicle think through it, and through the ruts and lifting a tire and going over some boulders. It just worked its way straight up the mountain without any slip and without having to think too much about over accelerating. It was really just a trial to see how that system worked. Very impressed. So if you need extra off-road prowess and you need the computer to help you think through it some, the off-road TRD off-road package is really where it's at. Overall, I really like this build. I've never owned a Toyota before and have ridden in some off-road and have been pretty impressed by their ability to crawl and sort of scrabble up varied terrain and whether it's loose or muddy or what have you. I think what's really beneficial about this Toyota is it's lightweight. I'm used to a very heavy vehicle. I've been in 3/4 ton and 1 ton vehicles for 20 years probably. This is my first 1/4 ton vehicle. You can really tell when you're on a back road or you're scrambling up the side of a hill how light this thing is and how it floats over the terrain. I've never had that balk, like I'm about to bog down feeling that I normally get in my heavier vehicles. It's just light. it dances, the suspension allows it to dance really well. And now granted, we didn't do a lot of off-road driving prior to putting all of these components on the vehicle. So I can't say how the factory Nitto tires performed. I can't say how the suspension performed. I can only really tell you how well it's done with the extra traction and the extra float happening at the wheels. I have a lot of confidence in it, and I have to say I've been very surprised. I've at times thought that I feel like I'm on a side-by-side buggy. It's certainly larger than that, but it's been so nimble and floating, and I've never even thought, oop, I'm gonna have to pull the winch out here at some point. You know, we were in New Mexico on those back roads, just floating through everything, and going up some areas where the road had been forgotten from a long time ago, and really never had lost confidence in that we were going to keep moving forward, and never even had that moment of, whoa man, this is about to get hairy. In a future video, we are going to get into how are we using it, how are we camping in it. We've taken 2 major road trips through Arizona, the Grand Canyon, Nevada, and down to California, and a second one through New Mexico and the Lincoln National Forest there. In both cases, we were sleeping in the back and we had all our gear organized in a way that really was efficient and worked well. And we're gonna give you a rundown on that and show you how that works. Maybe there's some tips and tricks in there that'll work for you. Thanks a lot, appreciate you tuning in, and make sure you subscribe and like this video, and we'll see you on the next one.